You're welcome once again to this Bible study episode, and today we are going to be delving into the book of Nehemiah. As the subject we'll be discussing Nehemiah himself, and by the grace of God, within the very short moment we'll be spending together, I would like you to please pay attention so that I can get what we are looking at today in full. Before we start up our reading from the book of Nehemiah, I would like to quickly give us a brief description of what led to the writing of the book of Nehemiah and where we are going to be continuing from Nehemiah chapter 1 and verse 1. I will give us a very short, by the grace of God, a very short description of what had happened. That's the series of events that led to what we are going to be looking at in the book of Nehemiah. So this happened to the southern kingdom. Now, I say the southern kingdom. Now, in the time after the reign of Solomon the king, as the king of the whole of Israel, there was the division of the kingdom, and the kingdom was divided into the north and the south. The south being Judah and the north being Israel. Now, after that, there are a series of kings that had ruled over each of the kingdoms. And the northern kingdom, they've been taken captive at about 722 BC. They have been taken captive by the Assyrian. And the southern kingdom is still having its own government. That is Judah. They still have their own government, still intact. Up until they were overruled by the Babylonian government. So now the conquering of the southern kingdom happened as a result of the disobedience of some of the kings that reigned over Judah, especially King Manasseh. When Manasseh ruled, he did so much atrocity. And then because of the disobedience of the people of Judah, there had to be a consequence of their action. The consequence of their action led to all of the things we saw that happened afterwards. Now, by the reason of the disobedience, other kings that followed after, we had a number of them that also followed after the example laid by Manasseh, and then we have some of them that actually did better than what Manasseh did. Example, Josiah. Josiah was a king that also reigned, and then he had to deal with some of the bad altars. He had to really try to restore law and order to Judah. But yet, that was not enough. Other things that came afterwards still followed after disobedience, thereby leading to the fulfillment of the prophecy given by Jeremiah the prophet, how that the people will be led into captivity. So King Zedekiah, being weak and rebellious, led Israel fully into captivity, fully into exile by the Babylonian kingdom. Now, what happened was, being rebellious, he tried to form alliance with the king of Egypt so that they could wage a war against the Babylonian king. But meanwhile, there was prophecy already. He also did not yield to the warnings of Jeremiah. So by the reason of his action, the king of Babylon laid a siege against the people of Judah, against their country, and the siege lasted for about 8 months, after which he was able to gain entrance into the kingdom. And by their action, they destroyed the kingdom. They destroyed the temple of Solomon. They also broke down the wall of Jerusalem. And after the wall was broken down, they took the people exile. So they led them fully into exile. So this action was the thing. These are the series of events that happened that actually led them to captivity, and then that caused that the book of Nehemiah that we're looking into be written, in which case We're going to be looking at this and see what is happening or what actually happened. And we're going to. So now it is written to us in the book of Nehemiah how that the word of the Lord, the word of Nehemiah, the son of Akaliah, and it came to pass in the month of Chizu in the 20th year, as I was in Shushan the palace. So this was Nehemiah. Nehemiah was in Shushan the palace, and he was also part of the people that have been led into captivity, and he was serving the king. So the person called Nehemiah was serving the king in Shushan the palace. He was serving Artaxerxes as at the moment. And then now in verse 2 we're told how that Anani and one of my brethren came, he and certain men of Judah, and I asked them concerning the Jews that I escaped, which were left of the captivity, and concerning Jerusalem. And they said to me, the remnant that are left of captivity, them and the province are in great affliction and reproach. The wall of Jerusalem also is broken down, and the gate thereof are burned with fire. And it came to pass, when I heard these words, that I sat down and wept, and mourned certain days, and fasted and prayed before the God of heaven. Now, this is Nehemiah. We're introduced into the character of Nehemiah, and then these opening verses give us so much to deal with about the man called Nehemiah, and so much to talk about his character and his behavior and his love for his country. So in this portion, we are seeing how that the state of the state of Jerusalem as at the moment, that's the first thing we're looking at, the state of Jerusalem. We're also looking at Nehemiah's disposition to these states. And then also we look at Nehemiah's response, that is his prayer. Three things basically. Now, Nehemiah was serving in Shushan the palace. Shushan the palace was about 900 miles away from Jerusalem as at the moment. But something happened. Some of his brethren Anani came to him, and one of those things that actually was significant that stood out for me in this portion we just read in verse 2 was that Nehemiah still had the company of his men, the company of his brethren with him. He never, because of the fact that he was serving the king, thereby leaving or breaking forth from the company of his brethren. They still have this company. And then also note that Nehemiah did not deny access to his brethren from coming to him, even in Shushan, the palace. He did not deny access. Some of us in these days and time, if you have the access and the privilege to be serving in the White House, and you have some of your brethren that wants to come and meet you or to come and see you, and you will deny them access. You will not permit them to come even close. They might need to write a series of letters to be able to gain access to you, to be able to get audience from you. But this was not the case with Nehemiah. He had his company still intact. So Nehemiah still had his countrymen with him. So that is very important. And now what happened? The countrymen came to Nehemiah and they gave a report of the state of Jerusalem. This is very important. They gave the state of Jerusalem, a report of the state of Jerusalem. Now, this report they gave was that the people are still in great affliction. The wall is still broken down because they have been burnt with fire. And the people are not in, let's say, a rejoicing state. And that the people are not in a great state. Now, those were the reports the brethren of Nehemiah brought to Nehemiah in a land far away. In a land far away. It was distant from home. Now, one thing that also stood out from the report was that the report was genuine. They gave a good report, a true report, not an adulterated one. In this day and time, if anyone holding a position, if anyone coming from a people that are not being cared for are asked to give a report, most of their reports are always adulterated. They don't give the true report. They give a malformed report, such that the people in authority might not know the exact state of the people they care for, because the people that are ahead of them, the people that are directly relating with them, they are giving a false report to those that are have the higher authority to do something about their state. So, but this was not the case with the brethren of Nehemiah. They gave the true report. They gave the true report. So this I also want us to see carefully. And then one other thing that we saw here was that after that they gave the report to Nehemiah, Nehemiah said, it came to pass when I heard these words, I sat down and wept. Now, this was Nehemiah's disposition. The second thing we are looking at, Nehemiah's disposition was that he sat down and wept. A number of us, when we hear the report of how our brethren are doing, when we hear about the affliction that some of our brethren are going through in some part of the world, we just feel that is their cause, that is their cross, let them carry it. Not knowing that it is our cross. They are our brethren, they are our sisters. Also, wherever they are in the world, they are our people. So when we hear things like this, it should grieve our heart. We should mourn for their sake. When you hear a believer has been murdered in cold blood, when you hear judgment has been perversed about some set of believers, we should mourn. So look at Nehemiah's disposition. Nehemiah mourned. He sat, he wept for certain days. Not a momentary mourn. He sat down and wept for the state of his people. After which also he said he fasted and he prayed. That was his response to the report that was given unto him. This is contrary to what happened in our day and time. Many of us will receive report like this. We feel sorrowful for a moment, and then the same thing happens over and over. We just feel this momentary sorrow, momentary remorse for the report we have just been given, and after that we get into our normal selves and just do as if nothing had happened. But this was not the case for Nehemiah. Nehemiah sat, wept for certain days, and then he fasted and also prayed. Now, I want to recommend that anytime you are hearing something not palatable, anytime you are hearing a not so good news, or you are receiving a report of some of our brethren, some of our brothers, some of our sisters, what should be your response is not to start chatting, is not to start tweeting, is not to start calling names, is not to start pointing fingers. But your response should be like that of Nehemiah. Nehemiah has laid a principle for us. He has laid a response pattern for us to follow. Mourn, be sorrowful, then go and seek the face of the Lord concerning the matter, just the same way Nehemiah did. We'll continue next by looking at what is Nehemiah's prayer, and then what should be our prayer also. Thank you for your time today. God bless you, everybody. Amen.